Howdy friends, welcome back. Today we're gonna mix some guitars and some bass for Shinkansen. I'm going to throw in a clip real quick that explains top-down mixing approach that I use, and then we're gonna get straight into it. I've got all of our instruments running to a 2-bus, and that 2-bus runs to our master bus. And then beside that 2-bus, we also have a vocals all bus, which is just everything vocal related. And then we also have an effects bus, which also runs straight to the master. And we'll get into why I did that a little bit later. Okie dokie. So we're going to start out with rhythm guitars. I guess I would say the main guitar tone is a quad Cortex reamp using a capture that our buddy over at Mlton Ordakowski captured. It is the Highwind Torrent 50 watt. Shout out to Highwind. Using a Direwolf in the capture as well, so it's a little bit boosted. Absolutely love the way that this capture sounds. And I think the cab I used is some kind of like Mesa V30 sort of a deal. Here is our first rhythm tone. So I'm doing this the way that I do a lot of my mixing these days, which is to say that the main rhythm tone is comprised of quad-tracked guitar. So there's two pretty different tones that come together to make one stronger tone. So this first kind of, I would say, main tone is our more trebly tone. Quick little kind of preview of what's going on. What did we do? We did some crazy EQing, it looks like. We've got an SSL E-channel emulation. We're doing a high pass to roughly 100 hertz, a low pass, call it about 10K, yep, 9.7. Not doing any EQing, not doing any expanding. We're doing a little bit of compression. Generally, I shoot for about -6 dB. Yep, and slamming that harmonic distortion knob, which just kind of adds a nice little top end sheen. So if we pull it down, and that's from way back in the day. I remember seeing some interview or forum post or something with Jason Sukoff was talking about how most of the sound of Nocturnal, the Black Dahlia album, was basically just a dimed out SSL board, which I really liked. I love the sound of that album. And moving along from there, a nice little bit of surgical EQing up in the high mids / low trebles. A nice wide Q notch set as a dynamic EQ, which just catches our palm mutes. So here's before, and then here's after. So that's it for that. Let's move along to our second rhythm tone, which currently is just a DI. We used Neural's Mesa Boogie Mark II-C, and we are using the GGD Studio Cabs Cali for more of that sort of classic metal guitar tone. So that gives us this. And let's get some chugs. As you can hear, so we're like really making a focus on big bloom and big saturation out of the palm mutes here. Just pretend you don't hear those wrong notes. Go over here. So let's take a look at what we did for processing. This is going to be a really similar situation. We're high passing even more of the lows on this one. And yet again, it's worth mentioning that on these SSL channel emulations, and specifically this one from Brainworks, this models each of the individual channels. So the effect of the EQs, how strong they are, and where the actual frequency changes are, changes depending on the channel that you're on. So it looks currently like we're high passing to 140, but we might not necessarily actually be high passing to 140. Also low passing to about 12K. We're looking for about 6 dB of gain reduction. We're on a 6:1 compression with the fastest release. Not a very good example because we don't have chugs going on, so let's check out our chugs. Okay. Yeah, so we're taking it a little bit easier than 6 dB of gain reduction. And then we're also, again, hitting that harmonic distortion pretty hard. It looks like now we're not actually all the way up. It's nearly all the way up. So here's before our SSL channel. And after. And here's what our harmonic distortion's doing. Little bit extra saturation, spiffing up that top end a little bit. Let's EQ it. Getting rid of all of our sub below 80 hertz, getting rid of all of our top end above 18K-ish, cleaning up our blooms there, and then it looks like we've got a major ring that I'm cleaning up here. And so yeah, this EQ is a little crazy. And actually, funny enough, it looks like I may have sort of changed my mind. And while we are using this for like a nice kind of bloom in the chugs and the saturation, it looks like we're kind of using this also like sort of a single coily style attack. So here's before the EQ. And here's after. So if we put both of those rhythm guitars together, and you can see what I mean really by that quad Cortex is our main rhythm. But it just adds a nice little something to it. So after that, we're running both of those rhythm guitars into a rhythm guitar all bus. And on that, we're doing some fun stuff. So I went pretty ham sandwich on the guitar tone on this mix here. So this is FabFilter's Pro MB, and we're just doing our best to kind of level everything out. I think that's an effect of the fact that we have so many different notes and all kinds of things peeking out and jumping out all over the place here. So catching all of those little peaks and stuff and making it easier to fit everything together. So here's without. And here's with. Really was pushing that high end pretty hard, which is, I guess, kind of ironic given all of the low passing we're doing on the SSL channel. So our low band has a particularly quick attack and semi-slow release. We have a range of 6 dB compression. Ratio is at 2.3 to 1. Pretty much across the board, our ratio is going to be really low. You can see over here in the expert zone, almost completely unlinked the stereo gain reduction. So this is going to be reacting to both guitars on their own instead of, if this side chugs big time, like this is the perfect section to show you why we're doing that. If this side chugs big time, it'll pull the other side down. But now, because it's unlinked, the big chugs will just do their own thing on their side, and everything kind of has its room. Yeah, like that's the perfect example right there. Our right guitar is chugging, our left guitar is not. So it's just kind of gluing everybody together, keeping it together. I should talk about the attack and release times of the rest. So our low mid band is a pretty quick attack and a relatively slow release. Our mid band is a slow attack and a quick release so that we can get the transients and the punch coming through on that one. Our high mid is a quick attack and very quick release. And our super, super high is a very, very quick attack and a relatively slow release. Next up, tube check blue tone from Soft Tube. So we get a little bit of compression. It also is widening a little bit, and there's a slight bit of EQ happening here. We have this happening in parallel. So and after. Just a little something extra. Now we're soothing. Good old soothe, dealing with a lot of that big whistle stuff going on. And we're going pretty easy on it. It's not pushing too hard at all. We can listen to what it's doing. Taming the angry, harsh highs there. Fab Filter Pro C2, and this is just sidechained to our snare drum. Fastest possible attack, very quick release. This is just to make room for our snare drum to do its thing. Before our sidechain compressed snare. And after. And lastly, some nice general EQ business here. Pull up low mids in specifically just the middle channel, ducking out some more harsh whistling stuff. Here's without. And with. That's our rhythm guitars. So those rhythm guitars go to our guitar all bus. That guitar all bus goes to our 2 bus, and you already saw the rest of that routing stuff. This is a fun little fella. So this is our third big angry track, and I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like I did not route this correctly at all. So that's cool, but Sometimes that happens. So this is going straight to our legitimate full-on master fader. That's a big whoopsie right there. So this is an Airis Effects Merciless Distortion, and we're running that into Archetype Rabea yet again on the clean channel, essentially doing that classic like Swedish chainsaw guitar tone thing. You run it through a clean amp, but you run the HM2 clone at just 10 on everything. So we get this. Just gives us a little something extra. So like without it, and then with. Just a little extra snarl, a little extra angry. We are doing this absolute abomination of an EQ curve. Getting rid of all of our lows below about 100 hertz, all of our highs above about 10K. Boosting, it looks like, pretty much everything. So that's an interesting call there. So here's before. And here's after. A little bit of volume reduction on the output. And after. Really filling in those mids. So let's do our little extra guitars now. Let's start out with pad guitar. This pad guitar is routed to the guitar extra bus, which is, I believe, then gonna go into the guitar all bus. Nope, guitar extra bus goes straight into our 2 bus. I'm not sure why I did that. Could be a routing for stems thing. But anyway, so this is also DI, and we're gonna be throwing an amp model on it. Neural DSP's Archetype Rabea, using the clean amp, but pushing it a little bit harder, hitting it with a delay and a reverb. Kind of standard stuff. Yep. Just a nice little ambient mid-gain kind of deal. As you may have immediately heard, wow, that's a lot of sub, which is cool for some stuff, but not cool for what we're doing here. So Pro Q3, deleting all of that sub, pulling our mid up a little bit, and then we've got some serious whistle stuff going on that we're cleaning out. I think specifically that whistle happens in this kind of strummy part. Jumping over to Soothe, cleaning up more whistle. Tube Tech compressor from Softtube. Doing some gentle gain reduction, gluing it all together. So yeah, that's our pad guitar. Nothing crazy going on there. Let's keep this train rolling. This is our lead guitar. So it looks like the first thing I did here was I'm running a FabFilter Pro Q3 with a gigantic high shelf that is set to dynamic to attempt to clean up some noisy stuff, probably right around here. I'd be willing to bet sometimes your DI is noisy and all you can do is try and make it sound better after the fact. Let's turn on our amp model and see what we get here. So this is Neural DSP's Archetype Petrucci, pretty standard lead tone kind of deal. Okay, so if we turn off our Pro Q, to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure why this is here because it doesn't seem like it's doing anything, but it may have been a holdover from us using this tone elsewhere. That's what we got. So this is, yeah, Archetype Petrucci. Got a whole lot of high end going on and quite a good bit of gain. Got that nice doubler going on just to give us a little bit of width. Let's check out our next instance of Pro Q3. So we're doing the same thing. We're taming our palm mutes, cleaning up some whistle, and then adding a little bit of presence back in. So let's see what we get from that. Here's before. And here's after. Yeah, okay, so we're like super mid-focusing this to try and cut it through the mix a little bit more, especially because our guitars are pretty freaking low-tuned for most of the song. So, whereas before it was quite bassy, now we're really focusing on the high mids. And it's also got that sort of like first album Animals as Leaders kind of like squawk thing, which I love the lead tone on those first albums. And our lead tone is running into a bus, which is doing some more stuff, cleaning up whistle stuff, adding a little bit of presence. I love a good, like, super processed lead tone. It's just very pleasing to me. After that, we've got an SSL emulation. Some harmonic distortion going on, not a whole lot. The usual high pass, low pass, just getting rid of the junk. And it looks like we're doing some compression here as well. Quickest possible release. Yeah, nothing too crazy. After that, FabFilter Pro MB, the same idea as previously with the rhythm guitar, but punched up to an extreme. There's all kinds of crazy notes happening here, so we want to catch it all and level it out so there's nothing poking up super duper above anything else. Our low band has a relatively slow attack and a pretty quick release. Relatively slow attack, quick release for the mid, relatively slow attack, quick release for the high mid, and pretty quick attack, quick release for the high. So this is essentially meaning to catch our pick attacks and then duck right after the pick attack to give us a little extra sauce on the pick attack. So here's before, and here's after. After that, running into Side Widener 2 from JST. Not doing a whole lot there, but it's given us just a little extra. Since it's one mono track, you know, we really want to push as hard as we can to kind of get it sounding as big as possible. Going into another EQ because I'm insane, still cutting the same low end, which might have been introduced from the harmonic distortion or, you know, from doing this extra compression here with the multiband, and cutting more wild frequencies. So let's see before. It's also worth mentioning Sanjay really goes hard with sort of low treble lead tones. Like, he prefers that very much. It's a very unique tone, and I think it's really cool. But so that's why we have so much cutting and so much compression and stuff happening on the high end for these lead tones, because that's his preference. Even though I believe this is actually Ben doing the lead guitar here, but meh. Moving on, we got Soothe, just cleaning up the super duper high end whistle stuff. So what do we got? Yeah, just still taking care of some whistle stuff. And that is our lead guitar. In fact, I believe that may be all of our guitar. Nope. We've got just a little bit more. This is what I call twang, which generally means mid-gain, but sometimes it gets labeled incorrectly. So let's check this out. This is our center overdriven track. Also a DI, running into Archetype Rabea. That's it. We're just running this plugin, and that's it. I'm willing to bet this is the same thing. Yep, these two guitars here are just left and rights to go with our little center lead thing. And a little bit of this. So let's take a look at our last guitar channel here. We're doing some interesting things here. Okay, so this is a clean guitar channel, and we're using FabFilter's Pro MB to do the sort of noise gate thing that we were talking about earlier with the lead guitar. It's expanding instead of compressing. So whenever it gets a signal, it pushes it up super hard, and then when it falls below the threshold, it ducks it down a bunch. It's a good way to denoise stuff. So let's check out what we got here. Not particularly presency, which I think is because we're also leaning on this, the previous sort of mid-gain thing, which is probably giving us our nice little bit of presence. Yep. Sort of a bog standard clean tone, but let's see what we're doing to it. So we got some soothe going on, very unsurprisingly, because I heard some whistles. Yep, so we're just getting rid of some junk. got a nice little Pro MB. Once again, no stereo link, or almost no stereo link going on, so they get their own independent compression. It's very helpful with clean guitars to unlink your compressors, because any amount of dynamics change is going to make a huge difference in volume for either of your guitars. So it's very helpful. This keeps them on the same level so you don't have a single note that jumps up above everything else. And so that's that. Now we're just doing some slight tone shaping. Get rid of the super lows that we brought up with Pro MB. Looks like a little bit of a presence boost there. Yeah. Yep, there you go. Done. All right, well, I was going to do bass in the same one, but this video is very long already, so I believe it is time to stop. So I will see y'all in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful time. If you're interested, check out the drum mixing one that is currently available, and by the time we're done here, we'll have the entire song's worth of mixing videos. So if you're watching this later, you don't have to keep an eye out because it's already out, so just go check it out. Or don't. Have a lovely time. Thank you very much. You're lovely. Consider hitting like, follow, subscribe, all of them fun things. Okay, bye.